Back in March, every bit of new U.S. power capacity added was renewable. Solar panels actually outpaced smokestacks. Do you think this is the moment where the energy transition becomes unstoppable?
Today's date is May 21st, 2025. Let's break down the numbers first. In the first quarter of this year, nearly 98% of all newly installed electricity generating capacity in the U.S. came from wind and solar. That's according to the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission. Just solar alone made up more than 72%, and it's actually been the leading source of new capacity for 19 months in a row. But is this a temporary spike, or is the U.S. energy system fundamentally changing?
It really is a transformation, and even the experts are a bit surprised at the speed. A biggest driver? Economics. Even though previous policies, like those from the Trump era, tried to slow down renewables, the market keeps shifting because renewables are just cheaper now. There's an irony here. Tariffs meant to help fossil fuels have actually made new gas plants costlier, so utilities are turning to wind and solar instead.
So those policies ended up making renewables seem more attractive? That's unexpected. And if I have this right, natural gas only added about 2% of new capacity, and oil was barely there at 0.2%. Right now, renewables make up over 22% of the utility-scale grid. If we include rooftop and other small-scale solar, we're talking about almost a third. But why is the shift happening so quickly?
There are two main reasons: technology and the market. Wind and solar have become the cheapest sources to build and run. Battery storage is scaling up, which helps balance supply and demand. Utilities are getting smarter. Advanced grid management, new transmission lines to move power to where it's needed. Plus, there's more geographic diversity. Texas is leading in new solar, but places like MISO and PJM are seeing strong growth too.
Those numbers are hard to ignore. Wind's share of U.S. generating capacity has more than doubled over the last decade. Solar has grown more than tenfold. The Energy Information Administration expects about 63 gigawatts of new utility-scale capacity this year, and more than 80% will be solar and storage. What does the future look like from here?
Projections suggest that solar deployment could increase by 17% by 2034 in a high-growth scenario. The trend isn't showing signs of slowing, especially as battery costs come down and it gets easier to connect renewables to the grid. But there are still real hurdles. For example, how do you keep the grid reliable as more renewables come online?
Right, that's a big concern for anyone running the grid. Grid operators are putting money into battery storage, more flexible management, and backup generators for when the weather turns extreme. There's also a push to upgrade transmission. But with so many distributed sources, managing all the moving parts is tricky. Do you think utilities are keeping up?
Utilities are moving fast. We're seeing more hybrid projects that mix solar, wind, and storage. There's a lot of strategic planning, and the scale is something we haven't really seen before. Still, sudden weather or cyber threats could put the system to the test. So yes, progress is real, but the risks haven't disappeared.
Let's step back for a second. On a global scale, the U.S. is one of the biggest energy users and carbon emitters. If renewables are taking off here, what kind of message does that send to other countries?
It definitely sends a signal. The U.S. is showing that economic and technological advances can drive a clean energy shift, even when politics get in the way. Other markets with good renewable resources and flexible rules, think the EU, Australia, India, parts of Latin America, are watching closely. The lesson is that when renewables are the lowest cost option, the market tends to follow.
So are we at the start of the decline for fossil fuels, at least when it comes to new power capacity?
At least for now, yes. The numbers make it pretty clear where new investment is going. Fossil fuels aren't disappearing overnight, but their share of new projects is dropping quickly. The momentum is with solar, wind, and storage.
That's a lot to think about. Just to summarize, in the first quarter of 2025, 98% of new U.S. power capacity came from wind or solar. Solar has led new capacity for 19 months straight. Texas is ahead, but other regions are gaining ground. Policy tried to slow things, but economics sped them up. The U.S. is becoming a case study. Did I leave anything out?
That's the picture. Renewables are breaking records. Markets are adjusting, and the world is paying attention. The transition is very much underway, and it's picking up speed.
Thanks for joining us as we made sense of the numbers and the bigger story behind America's renewable energy shift. Are we seeing a new normal, or is this just the start? We'll be watching.
Thank you for listening. This episode was brought to you by mynews.studio. You can try it now for free.